And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
For Monday morning, showing IFR here over the northeast Bering Sea into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Also Bristol Bay with some areas extending up into the Kuskokwim Valley and northeastward there into the lower Yukon River Valley. Marginal VFR onto the east there. Areas of IFR, south and southeast Alaska. North Gulf Coast as well into the Panhandle. Yukon Flats, Koyukuk Valley out to the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island northward. VFR, except for some marginal VFR for the western Arctic coast. And for the Monday afternoon, we're looking at good VFR for the Arctic coast north slope, central eastern Brooks Range, central eastern interior north of the Alaska Range. But marginal VFR with areas of IFR here from the northern Bering Sea, eastward across southern Alaska, North Gulf Coast area, and some IFR up there around Lynn Canal on up toward Haines, Skagway area, marginal VFR becoming VFR as you head south and east there across the southeast coast. VFR, Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula, and most of Bristol Bay as well as the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. And then for Tuesday morning, IFR, northern Bering Sea, into the southwest coast and the southern Seward Peninsula area there through the Bering Strait. And still marginal VFR with some areas of IFR, mostly along and west of the Alaska Range here, cutting across the southern Kuskokwim Valley into the southwest mountains there. And the Kuskokwim Mountains, otherwise mostly marginal here, south central Alaska into the Copper River Basin, up to the Alaska Range. Tanana Valley, northward, VFR. And for the southeast coast, got marginal VFR with some areas of VFR. And then for the day on, for the afternoon hours, Tuesday, again, mostly VFR now, or becoming VFR for the southeast coast. Much better conditions there. Good VFR, also southern Alaska, Gulf here, Kodiak Island, northward there to the Arctic coast. Western Koyukuk Valley or so, or definitely the Kobuk Valley out to the northwest coast, marginal VFR there. Not too much IFR here for the afternoon Tuesday, a little bit here south of Nunivak Island, and then some around St. Lawrence Island up to the Bering Strait, maybe getting into the Nome area there, possibly White Mountain. And VFR, Eastern Aleutians, and trying to become VFR for the Pribilof Islands. Otherwise, the Bering Sea and western central Aleutians, mostly marginal for the passes, Anatuvik and Anagan. A VFR day coming up for both those passes Monday. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, occasional IFR during the day tomorrow. And rainy, same forecast, IFR at some point in the day expected for that pass. Or for windy, marginal VFR becoming VFR, so improving there. Same thing for Isabel, marginal VFR to VFR. And Mentasta, marginal VFR becoming VFR. Tanita, also improving through the day, becoming VFR. Portage, though, occasional IFR the entire day Monday. Same thing for Chilkoot and White. And for the freezing levels, 2,000 feet here, south of the Panhandle now, kind of up along the Prince of Wales Island area. That's about it. South of Kodiak Island here, 2,000 feet. In fact, a good distance south of Kodiak. So moving on to the icing chart here, we've got a band of moisture from the western Bering Sea northeastward there into the southern, or extending across southern Alaska here with considerable moderate rime icing expected. Cook Inlet into the Susitna Manuska Valley, along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, staying west of the Panhandle, and then another area out here from Amchitka Island to Shimia Attu and Kiska, and those areas. Moving on to the jet stream, main jet down to the south here, so not much in the way of any strong winds or significant winds at 33,000 feet for mainland Alaska. And although there is some 90 to 120 knot winds, mostly to the south of the Alaska Peninsula or the eastern Aleutians, and 9,000 feet, we've got pretty good southwest winds for the Alaska Peninsula, the Fox Islands at about 65 knots. Pribilof's here, 45 knot winds blowing in from the southwest. Turning west-northwest here, 40 to 50 knots, mostly south of Kodiak Island. Pretty light here for the interior areas, although maybe up to 40 knots out of the north-northeast. Western Alaska Range to the southwest coast, light for the Panhandle, light and variable for the northern part of the state. And at 3,000 feet, light winds for the southeast coast up to Yakutat, southeast interior areas, then some easterlies up to 30 knots there across Kotzebue Sound and northwest coast, 40 knots out of the southeast for the Yukon Delta, and westerlies at about 45 knots here south of this low over Cook Inlet for Kodiak Island. A couple of bands of stronger winds out here for 3,000 feet. We've got southwest 55 knots into the Alaska Peninsula to about Unalaska Island, and 65 knot winds from the Pribilofs on back down toward the Aleutians. And turbulence, look for considerable moderate turbulence here from Amchitka to Adak, Atka, northeastward here to the Pribilofs and St. Matthew Island, as well as Unalaska Island, the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and Prince William Sound, and smooth for the Panhandle, eastern central interior out to the Arctic coast.